Hello everyone, this is the finale of What If Naruto Made the Ultimate Sacrifice, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. A droplet of water fell upon the Jinchuriki's head, sending a cold feeling throughout him as he slowly began to open his eyes. His blurred vision began to clear, revealing the darkness in front of him. Lying on his back, he made no move as he tried to take in the details of his surroundings but failing due to the lack of light. The pain in his body threatened to overcome his senses as he began to rise from his position, so he was sitting upright. The dreariness was visible in his eyes as he looked over the chamber in front of him, feeling a sort of familiarity towards it. The blonde held his hair, as his eyes began to adjust to the darkness. Naruto rose onto his feet, before his eyes widened in shock from the sight in front of him. He walked forwards before reaching out and touching the towering gate which had been ripped open. He looked for the seal to find it intact, but barely. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up as he felt another presence behind him as if it were preying upon him. He turned around to set his eyes upon the large form of the kitsune which had been trapped within him for 16 years. His feet began to tread backwards, noting the danger he was in as the crimson eyes of the Kyuubi glared at his small figure. The astonishment was evident in Naruto's voice as he spoke. "What's going on? How did you get out?" Kyuubi had a feral grin across his countenance as he sat down. "Even on the verge of death, you feel fear." The demonic fox was amused with the genin in front of him. Naruto looked around before towards the form of the kitsune. "You brought me here, but you're fading." Kyuubi had an impassive expression. "Indeed, but there's a difference. Do you feel it?" Naruto remained cautious, however he sat on the ground as he realized the demonic fox wouldn't attack him. "You're going to die before me." The Kyuubi remained silent as Naruto understood exactly what he had said. "Nani? How is that possible?" The animalistic grin of the Kyuubi returned on the demon's visage as he answered, "We're no longer bound to each other." Naruto looked back at the withering seal on the destroyed prison of the Kyuubi. "What did you do?" The chakra of the Kyuubi was a lot more silent than its usual fiery self as he spoke in his menacing voice. "Isn't it odd that whenever you were close to death, I felt myself feeling the effects also, regardless of the fact that I am immortal?" Naruto didn't know how to answer as he looked at the kitsune with a clueless expression. "Maybe." Kyuubi's crimson eyes remained fixated on the genin. There have been many Jinchuriki in the past, however when the containers neared the end of their lives, the Bayu would be removed and sealed in an object until it could be moved back to another container. "Do you know why?" Naruto thought over what he had said before answering. "They couldn't kill the Bayu." Kyuubi grinned before walking towards the blonde. Naruto rolled out of the way as the kitsune's form stopped in front of the towering gates and the disintegrating seal. "Why is it that other Bijuas have lived on past their containers' deaths, yet I was feeling myself fading away along with you?" The kitsune turned to face the genin. "This seal, it was making me mortal by connecting my life force with yours." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "But it's not anymore, you did something." The demonic fox looked over the sewer-like chamber he had dwelled in for the past 16 years. "The first time you lost yourself to my chakra, I realized then, the effects of the seal. The shortening of your life directly affected me and I took note of it. Imagine my surprise when you came crawling to me, begging for a pact, and giving me the exact opportunity I needed." Naruto looked towards his left forearm where the seal was no longer present. "You tricked me." The Kyuubi gave a menacing laugh, sending chills down Naruto's spine. "I prefer the term manipulated. Our pact directly relied on me to risk my life to attack, and it leaves you near death due to the strain on your body to R it." Naruto shook his head as the full consequences of what he did descended upon him. "It also destroyed any connection you had with me, leaving you alive with me. He gritted his teeth as he knew exactly what the demonic fox craved to do, aka demon to set another one free. The Kyuubi observed the visibly disturbed state of the genin. "I only want to destroy that pathetic village while Madara planned on changing the world. I'm the lesser of two evils." Naruto looked up at the fox, his sapphire eyes full of rage. "You're finding this amusing? Bastard, you tricked me from the beginning. All that crap about acknowledgement was just to get me to fight and use this damn technique." Kyuubi stared right back into the blonde's fierce gaze. You're angry at me because I did what I had to survive. How pathetic. Do you honestly think I care whether you feel tricked or hurt? Naruto directed his vision to the ground, covered in water. His thoughts were on his friends and his unborn child. They'll stop you, just like before. Kyuubi felt amused by the demeanor of the genin before finally speaking. Will they? He licked his sharp teeth. Do you want a chance to fight me? The words of the Kyuubi instantly garnered the attention of Naruto. What are you trying to say? Kyuubi walked past the genin. You stood up to Anima for the sake of your village and came out victorious. You defeated Madara, the one whom I longed to destroy with my own power. Though it was me who finished him, I didn't get the chance to savor it like I normally would. Naruto felt disgusted with the B of the Kyuubi even though he was well acquainted with his tendencies. You want to fight me? Kyuubi stopped before giving a menacing smile. You understand what it means to have honor. When I am reborn, I will come for your dismal village and I will enjoy ripping you to shreds, personally. Naruto listened to the threatening tone of the kitsune but didn't understand how he was going to accomplish such a thing. I'm going to be K shortly. The kitsune nodded, acknowledging his statement. I can't give you life. The most I can do is to repair your coils close to their original state. That won't change the fact that you're on the verge of death, and if you're not healed, that will be your fate. Naruto stood up, ignoring the pain within him, before staring directly into the crimson eyes of the Kyuubi who posed a dangerous threat to Konoha. All this, just to me yourself. The fading chakra of the Kyuubi began to swirl. I want a challenge and some enjoyment when I come for that doomed village. Will you fall or will you stand? The form of the kitsune burst into red chakra before rushing towards Naruto and engulfing him. The Jinchuriki could feel his chakra coils being healed, causing him immense amounts of pain before his vision went black. XXXXXXXXXX. Sasuke stared at the motionless form of Naruto, a tear slowly trickling down his cheek as he felt himself succumbing to the painful feeling of loneliness again. His Sharingan faded, leaving only his black eyes before he rose to his feet. Sakura clutched Naruto's form, one of her hands brushing away the golden locks from his visage as she struggled to control her tears. She bent down, hugging his body as everybody looked on. Tsunade remained quiet, observing her student before her eyes became alert of the chakra beginning to seep off the Jinchuriki's form. Sakura moved back, looking at the strange force of chakra as it began to swirl around the genin's body. Jiraiya recognized the menacing chakra of the Kyuubis before calling out to the Kunoichi, get back. Sakura placed Naruto's head on the ground and took a few steps back before the chakra burst out from the genin, rising into the sky. The shinobi looked on fearfully as it took the form of the Kyuubi's head, causing some of them to cry out in concern, before it vanished. Neji stared at the ominous chakra disappear before bringing his vision back to the figure of his friend. His eyes widened as he looked at the coils inside of the genin's body, his chakra coils. Tsunade turned to the Hyuga as she noticed him speaking. What did you say? Neji kept his attention on Naruto. His chakra coils aren't deteriorating. Sakura froze as she heard the Hyuga before looking at her mentor, who had a slight smile across her face. Tsunade nodded in her direction. We still have a chance. XXXXXXXXXX. Opening his eyes slowly, the details of his vicinity became clearer as he saw two figures standing a few feet away from him. Kakashi was leaning against a wall, calmly reading his favorite novel as Sasuke stared outside through the window. Neither shinobi realized the awakening of the genin as he slowly sat up, much to the dismay of his muscles which ached as he forced them to move. The small room was covered in darkness, the only light was from the bright moon outside. Sasuke sighed before glancing towards Naruto and returning to his sky watching. His eyes widened before he looked back towards the genin to find him struggling to sit up. He turned around, garnering the attention of Kakashi, who closed his book as he saw his student slowly rise from the hospital bed. You're. Naruto tried to shake away his grogginess as he looked towards his lap to find a head full of pink hair. He smiled before stroking the Kunoichi's hair and looking towards the Sharingan wielders. Yeah. Kakashi closed his eye, full of happiness as he felt his heart lose a lot of weight. Welcome back. Sasuke remained quiet, a smile across his face letting Naruto know of how he was feeling before he gave a nod to the former Jinchuriki. The blonde brought his attention back to the Kunoichi, who began to stir, awakening from her slumber. Sakura rubbed her emerald eyes before realizing the sapphire orbs staring at her. She turned to face the genin who had a peaceful look on his face. Her eyes began to tear up as she tried to control herself before throwing her arms around the unsuspecting shinobi, Naruto. Naruto recoiled as a jolt of pain ran throughout his body from her weight but settled into her embrace, enjoying the warmth of her arms. I guess I kept my promise. Sakura sniffed before nodding, not letting go of the genin. Hi. Kakashi and Sasuke smiled as Team 7 was finally reunited like it should have been a long time ago. They directed their attention towards the door as it opened before two figures walked in. The Godime folded her arms as Sakura let go of Naruto and looked towards her mentor. Tsunade walked up to the hospital bed, smiling at the boy she considered her brother. It's about time you came to. Jiraiya laughed as he remained near the door, and the first thing you did was lay your hands on a woman. He mimicked the movement of wiping away a tear. You really do take after me. Tsunade had an annoyed expression at his perverted comments while Naruto merely smiled. Hey, you never change, Ero Sennin. Jiraiya coughed before Tsunade directed her attention to the rest of the shinobi. It's best if you go home and have some rest. That includes you also, Sakura. Kakashi gave a small wave to Naruto before walking towards the door and leaving. Sasuke abandoned his position next to the window, nodding in the genin's direction before disappearing from his spot. Sakura sighed before kissing Naruto on his forehead. I'll see you tomorrow, Barker. Naruto grinned at the kunoichi as she left and closed the door behind her. He turned his attention towards his body, which was covered in bandages. He brought up his arms but halted his movement quickly as he felt a shot of pain. You haven't used your muscles in a really long time. It's going to be some time before you feel normal again. Tsunade took a seat after finishing speaking. Naruto looked at his bandaged hands. How long have I been out? Jiraiya ran a hand through his hair, giving a sigh. Nearly 3 weeks. Naruto was quick to express his surprise at the revelation. Nani? Tsunade felt elated to see the genin acting normally. Don't be so shocked. Even though your coils were repaired near enough to their original state, we still had to operate on you to fix them before we lost you. It took over a day to complete the full procedure and everyone participating was exhausted, even those who had to constantly supply you with chakra so you didn't die from depletion. Naruto looked at the Godime with a clueless expression. So, I should be back to 100% soon. Tsunade frowned, which Naruto noticed before Jiraiya spoke. Remember the forbidden training method you've been using. Naruto instantly understood what path the legendary Sannin was heading down. Oh. Tsunade shook her head. We don't know how long before your muscles give out and you have to stop, as a shinobi. Naruto laid back in his bed, resting his head against the soft pillow. Don't worry about it. I'll conquer this just like everything else. Jiraiya laughed as he heard his apprentice. I didn't think it would keep you down, but now to more important matters. Naruto shifted his eye in the direction of the frog hermit. Tsunade cleared her throat. The Kyuubi, what happened with him? The seal is missing as well. Naruto sat up, supporting himself with his hands. The seal's missing because he's no longer a part of me. Jiraiya had a serious demeanor as he remembered the vanishing form of the kitsune in the sky. The day of the battle, he's dead. Naruto shook his head. No, he's in the process of being reborn, only, I don't know how long it'll take. It could be a week or maybe even 10 years. Tsunade had a contemplative look on her face. He let you live for a reason. Naruto nodded, acknowledging her statement. He wants to kill me, and destroy Konoha. Jiraiya closed his eyes. I wouldn't expect anything less from him. We can't really prepare for something which could occur at any time. I guess we'll face it when the time comes. Naruto yawned before looking towards the window. Does Konoha know of Madara? Jiraiya walked over to the window. The news was made public a few days after the battle. It left a lot of people stunned, but others were afraid and called for the death of your friend. Naruto stopped tinkering with his bandages. Sasuke. Tsunade placed her hand on his thigh. Nothing's going to happen. He's been given a chance to start again. We're not going to ruin that. It's up to him to give the Uchiha a new path. Naruto smiled. I'm sure he will. Tsunade rose from her chair. The true history of Konoha has been revealed and the Uzumaki no longer have a tarnished name. A lot of people owe you an apology and I'm sure they're dying to ask for your forgiveness, especially after you saved Konoha. Naruto dwelled on the Godime's words, as long as they learn from their mistakes, I don't need an apology. Jiraiya stretched his neck before making his way over to the exit. That sounds like something the old man would say. Tsunade made her way over to her ex-teammate before looking back for a final time, get some rest. She closed the door behind her, leaving the genin alone in his chamber. Naruto looked around his room before pulling off the soft blanket from his body. He moved his legs to the side of the bed before touching down on the cold floor. He slowly rose from his bed before losing his balance and falling back. He sighed as he realized the weak state of his legs. Looking to the side of his bed, he saw a crutch which he quickly grabbed and used to lift himself onto his feet. Placing his feet into the shoes next to the cabinet, he walked over to the window. He stood there, staring at the night sky as the hours passed by. His heart felt a lot more peaceful and light. Opening the window, he slowly exited his room and landed on the hard ground. He smiled as he thought of what Sakura would do to him if she found out he was sneaking out of his room at night when he was meant to be sleeping. However, the smile dropped as he realized what the Godime would do to him when she inevitably discovered him going against her order. Ignoring his wandering thoughts, he began to walk through the streets of Konoha with the help of his crutch. His trek was long and silent as there was no one else present on the streets of Konoha. He continued, until he ended up at the foot of the Hokage monument. His eyes traveled upwards to the faces carved in the mountain before he looked to his side at the stairs which led to the top. Letting go of his crutch, it fell towards the ground causing a clattering sound as it impacted. The blonde reached out and touched the hard surface of the rock before attaining a firm grip and beginning to climb like he did months ago. He struggled as he scaled the high mountain, his muscles aching from the amount of effort he was putting into climbing. He resumed, ignoring the fatigue and dreariness as he eventually made it to the top. Sweat traveled down his body as he crawled over to the head of the Yondaime and took a seat. The stars and moon shone brightly, illuminating everything and adding to the already beautiful Konoha as it glittered with all its lights. Naruto controlled his breathing as he looked over the village. He looked at the night sky as he remembered the famous saying of the Nadaime. Protect the ones who love the village and believe in you. His thoughts drifted to his ancestor and the Sandaime, remembering everything they had gone through and what their entailed. A smile adorned his face as the light of the moon reflected onto his face. When a person he doesn't disappear, he lives on in the memories and the hearts of the ones he has touched. He closed his eyes, inhaling the fresh air, arigato. A wave of heat traveled through Konoha with the blazing sun clearly visible in the sky, showering the wondrous village with light. Its rays shone on the Hokage tower where Tsunade tapped her foot impatiently. The busty gambler sighed, before looking at the men who were removing the furniture. Don't forget the lamp, I want that taken out. A squeaking sound could be heard as the legendary Sukka's assistant tightened her hold on the pig in her arms. Tsunade-sama, you shouldn't take the things that were here to begin with. Tsunade waved her hand, ignoring the medic nin. Consider them some souvenirs Shizune, I like that lamp. The medic nin moved out of the way of the men who were holding the furniture haphazardly and regained her composure. It just seems like something you shouldn't be doing. Tsunade laughed as she made her way to the exit of the room and down the corridor while Shizune followed. The medic stopped in front of a large set of doors before walking inside. There was something here that I needed. Shizune had an overwhelmed expression. You're going to take the books out of the library. Tsunade looked back at the kunoichi. You're acting so uptight, relax. Shizune shook her head. There's no time, we've yet to complete the preparations and it's already noon. Tsunade straightened herself before taking a contemplative stance. What's that brat doing? XXXXXXXXXX. The blonde tightened his grip, as the fresh smell entered his nasal passage dazzling him. Sakura-chan, a grin was across his mature visage, showing his happiness. Sakura stared at the grown man whose eyes were closed and arms were tightly wrapped around a pillow. She sighed before walking up to the bed and bending over his whiskered countenance and whispering, Naruto. The shinobi's eyes remained close as he replied in a dreamy manner, Bringing her fist down, it contacted against his head. Wake up, Barker. Itai. Naruto sat straight up whilst rubbing his head. He turned his attention to the pink-haired woman to his side, who now had a sweet smile across her face. You could have been gentler. Sakura folded her arms. You've slept through half the day. Naruto flipped onto his feet with the blankets still wrapped around him. Nani. The blonde didn't land accordingly before finding himself falling off the bed and onto the unsuspecting kunoichi. Sakura let out a little scream as she saw the body of the shinobi fall on her before a small thud was heard. Naruto looked up from his position at the pink-haired medic. I had a dream like this. Naruto-sama, what items do you want moved? The leader of the group of men had a sincere tone as he spoke. Naruto tilted his head slightly. Just take everything. The men nodded as they made their way into the house. Naruto had brought the cozy abode after he had gotten married and Ru was born because his apartment wasn't suitable to stay in. He moved his eyes upwards so he could see his 5-year-old son. Hold on tight. The young boy nodded as he tightened his hold of his father's hair. Naruto jumped onto the nearest rooftop before speeding through Konoha and eventually stopping near one of the busy streets. He landed on the ground below and began to walk with the citizens of the village. He grinned before addressing the young boy on his shoulders. Did you enjoy the ride? Ru smiled before nodding enthusiastically. Hi. Naruto began to whistle as he walked through the streets, acknowledging the smiles and friendly gestures the villagers made in his direction. Ru leaned forwards resting on his father's head. Touchin'. Naruto began to walk towards a shop window as something caught his eye. Ru had a curious tone. Why does everyone treat you like that? Naruto laughed. You'll learn once you're older, but the villagers are nicer to certain people more than others. But that doesn't mean they're not nice in general. Naruto stopped in front of the shop window, watching the display. His demeanor changed instantly as he became a lot calmer and focused. He stared at the thick books for a few moments, a sense of empathy flowing through him. Naruto smiled. Ero Senin. Ru overheard his father. That's why they're nice to you. The shinobi realized what he had said. No, that's not what I meant. Ru had a confused expression. Karkin said I was in trouble because I helped that pervert, but you. Naruto interrupted his son from finishing. Ru, don't listen to me. The younger Uzumaki nodded uncomfortably as his father continued walking before ending up outside of the ramen stand he had been visiting since he was a child. He entered through the curtains, gaining everyone's attention. Oi. It's about time you arrived. We've been waiting for you for like about half an hour. Kiba quieted down as he finished speaking. Shino pushed his glasses upwards. It would have been best to remain quiet. Naruto grinned at his friends. Sorry I took so long. I woke up late. Ru jumped off his father's head onto one of the empty stools. Nichin, a bowl of miso ramen. Chuki chuckled as Ayami began to make the desired dish of the blonde. Chuji put away his empty bowl and pulled forward another one. You must have been excited. Ino leaned back on her stool, or you were probably doing something else. Naruto scratched his head. What are you trying to say? Shikamaru sighed as he tapped the counter with his hand. Something tells me, you're going to be asked a lot of questions after a few days have passed. And throw in a few crying men with that. Naruto turned his vision to where Shikamaru was facing to gain a better understanding of what he could be talking about. His eyes landed on Kakashi, who was sitting on a stool reading a book. Naruto pointed at his former teacher. Kakashi, you're reading a normal book. Kakashi nodded as he was engrossed in the latest reading material before Naruto saw something falling on either side of his shoulder. He moved his eyes to the two shinobi standing behind Kakashi who were evidently crying. Guy sniffled as he turned to Naruto. This boy, such a tragic life. Lee nodded in agreement. If only I had the opportunity to face such an honorable ninja. I would have been proud to be his opponent. Haku, I will never forget that name. Naruto raised an eyebrow as he read the lore of the book Kakashi was reading. How did you get that? It only came out today. Kakashi turned a page. Jiraiya-sama. Naruto was speechless at the quick and blunt answer as he walked next to his son who was engaged in an eating contest with Chuji, both of whom were rapidly devouring their extra-large bowls of ramen. He grinned before taking a seat and ordering a bowl of miso ramen for himself. Where's Neji and Sasuke? Shikamaru whistled lazily. Neji is going through some clan meeting since Hiashi wanted him to be there. Sasuke, I don't know where he is. I'm here. Naruto turned after hearing the voice of his best friend. Sasuke straightened his hair before taking a seat next to Shikamaru. Naruto moved his hands out of the way as a bowl of steaming ramen was placed in front of him. You know, you're late often. I wonder what's going on. Sasuke knew exactly what the blonde might be talking about but didn't want anything to be said in the company of the Nara. I was busy with refurbishing. Naruto laughed as he ate the rest of his ramen. Yeah, I bet you were. Sasuke had a disapproving look on his face as he ignored the Uzumaki and ordered himself something to eat. Ino sighed exasperatedly. Naruto, what did you need me for? I have to get back to the others to help. The Uzumaki wiped his mouth after having finished eating. Having lived with Sakura for so long, he was taught some manners though he was far from perfect. Can I stay a bit longer? I just got here. Ino knew how the former demon container felt. I really need to get back to the others. We're running late and everyone needs to help out. She paused after seeing the shinobi in the ramen stand, except for these useless guys. Naruto stood up from his stool and waited for Ino to walk ahead. Shall we? Ino left the ramen stand as Naruto directed his attention towards his son who was now staring directly into Sasuke's eyes. Naruto raised an eyebrow as Ru was sweating and Sasuke had a bored look across his face. Ru clenched his fists. Shanaro. Show me the eyes. Naruto his head. Ru, stop that. The Sharingan isn't a toy for your amusement. Ru let his shoulders slump as Sasuke smirked at the young boy. I'll leave him here with you guys. I'll come back and pick him up later. XXXXXXXXXX. Tsunade sat down at her desk with a bored look across her face. Shizune, tell them to hurry up. Shizune stood patiently as the men moved the furniture out of the other rooms. They're doing it as fast as they can. I don't want to pressure them. Sakura walked into the room looking around her at the various people who had items in their hands. Where's Hinata? Tsunade twirled the cup of sake she had just poured. In some meeting with her clan, the legendary Sucker recognized the absence of a certain someone from her former protege. A better question would be where Ru-kun is. Sakura moved her hair behind her ear. He's with Naruto. Tsunade gave a disappointed sigh. You should have brought him with you. Sakura raised an eyebrow. I think he's better off there. Tsunade drank some sake. What did I do? Sakura shook her head as she picked up some papers to see what they had left to do for the ceremony. You used him to help you gamble. Shizune's mouth fell open upon the revelation as Tsunade had a defensive voice. That was only once. Sakura placed the papers down. Jiraiya said that about the incident with the women in the hot springs, but I caught him at it again today. Tsunade shook her head. Don't compare me to that pervert. Wait, he used Ru-kun to do what? Sakura began to think of the most effective way to prepare everything as she answered the gambling addict. Don't worry about that. I've already sorted everything out. Shizune nodded in agreement. There's still a few tasks left to do. But after that, we'll be ready for the ceremony. Tsunade smiled. It's been so long, I can't believe it's going to happen. She looked near Sakura as a shinobi appeared holding a scroll. A message from the Kazekage for Naruto-sama. The shinobi placed the scroll on the desk before disappearing. XXXXXXXXXX. Naruto placed the flowers he had gotten from Ino at the two large graves which were side by side. They were dedicated to the Sandaime and his great-grandfather, Yasuo. He closed his eyes as memories of the two flushed his mind. The ambience was very peaceful and he went undisturbed. The two graves had flowers growing around them, giving an elegant look as the blonde opened his eyes. The bright sun shone on his face, radiating warmth throughout his body. The time has finally come. I hope I make you proud. The wind gave a whistling sound as it blew. You will. Naruto turned his head to face the bearer of the voice. What makes you so sure? Jiraiya folded his arms. Because you let your heart guide you. Naruto smirked. I saw the book. How long have you been planning on that? The frog hermit sighed. The first time I read it, I took out any parts which weren't meant for any other eyes except your child's. Naruto sat down on the soft grass below him. You got him in trouble. He looked at the pervert's face which was visibly bruised. But I can see Sakura-chan has already talked to you about it. The Uzumaki laughed as he finished. Jiraiya shook his head. It's not funny. That woman's turned out like her both physically and mentally. Naruto realized that he was talking about Tsunade. You shouldn't have used Ru like that. A crying child garners the attention of many women regardless of how they're dressed. Jiraiya pouted. It helped that he was your son. The frog hermit adopted a more serious demeanor. You should get going. Naruto rose to his feet. Yeah. The Uzumaki took off, disappearing in the distance, leaving Jiraiya staring after him. Live your dream. XXXXXXXXXX. Tsunade looked outside as the streets were filled with the citizens of Konoha. The large crowd was gathered in front of the Hokage Tower as she directed her attention to her assistant. Where is he? He should have been here by now. Shizune remained quiet as Sakura was about to speak, however the kunoichi stopped as the door opened and Naruto walked inside along with Ru. The younger and more energetic Uzumaki ran up to Tsunade, barking. Tsunade gave the young boy a K on the forehead as Naruto walked forwards, Tsunade barking. He saw a flash of yellow before a fist contacted against his head, causing him to cry out in pain. What was that for? Tsunade pointed at the 21-year-old man. I told you not to call me that. Naruto's eyes were wide with confusion as he pointed towards Ru, but he just. Sakura walked up to her husband, hugging him from behind. Drop it. Tsunade coughed before handing Naruto the scroll she had received a while back. It's from the Kazekage. Naruto opened the scroll and began to read as Sakura observed Ru and the stain near his mouth. Hey, he's returning the favor. Tsunade walked to the window. Naruto, it's time. The blonde nodded as he walked towards the legendary Sannin who handed him the hat of the Hokage. Tsunade opened the doors to the balcony as everyone present became quiet. Koharu and Homura nodded at the Uzumaki, a smile across their faces as they stepped aside, letting him continue to the edge. Shizune and Sakura stood near the advisors of the Hokage as Ru held his father's leg and looked at the massive crowd. Tsunade stepped back as Naruto remained silent, overlooking the whole of Konoha which had gathered. The Uzumaki looked at the hat in his hand. There have been many before me who have worn this in pride. The crowd listened intently. They have passed on their teachings to the generations that followed. This village has been a lot over the years. Were made, friends and families were lost. Naruto remembered everything that had happened. As long as I am alive, I will make sure the fire within the heart of this village always burns bright. Placing the hat on his head, he spoke for a final time. I am the Rokudaime, Uzumaki Naruto. The crowd broke out into an ovation as they stared at the newly appointed Hokage. Naruto held his hand on the hat, making sure it wasn't blown away as he saw the appreciation everyone was showing him. He looked into the crowd below and spotted his friends who were all smiling at him whilst clapping. The sky was a bright blue with no clouds in sight, letting the sun shine down on the streets of Konoha gloriously as the birds flew through the sky giving a beautiful sound. Naruto closed his eyes as he had finally realized his dream, the words of the Sandaime fresh in his mind. I believe in you Naruto, become a Hokage like there has never been before. XXXXXXXXXX. Jiraiya looked back at the gates of Konoha as he could hear the cheers resonating throughout the wondrous village all the way to the lush forest surrounding it. He turned around with a smile across his face as he began to walk. Closing his eyes, he remembered the opening passage from the book Naruto had written. Memories, bonds, dreams, all these things are worth making S for. We are each given our own burdens to bear, a test to see whether we are strong enough to persevere. I spent my life searching for acceptance, but somewhere down the line, my dream changed from that of one to gain acknowledgement to maintaining the bonds I had created and bringing back the memories I cherished. These were lessons learned through S. I felt desperate, broken, happy and peaceful. This is my story, one of destiny. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.